Hello and welcome to the Cabin Boy Knits Woolcast, coming to you deep from the Canadian forest.
This is Christopher.
And this is the other guy,
Jamie.
We have a lot to talk about this episode. We got mail, a magazine.
And we're going to talk about a lost heritage fibre craft.
And I'm going to show you a fob.
We're going to talk about the Ontario Fibre Fair and what's in your dye pot.
And we're going to be digging up wool. So sit back, grab your favorite drink, and we'll tell you our story. Okay, Jamie, you got back from Paris, you were here for a couple of days, and then you went on another road trip.
I did. I had a need to travel, and I went to see my family up north. And it was absolutely stunning because the leaves and the autumn fall colors were in full bloom color change up north.
Yeah, it looked beautiful. It looked really nice. But it hasn't hit here yet. We're kind of halfway in between right now.
Yeah, the colors haven't peaked here yet. And you know, I don't know if it's just been a while that I haven't been out and about. I don't know. But the colors were more beautiful than I ever remember. But we've had some weird weather as well.
We have, absolutely.
I mean, here we are talking about the weather, but seriously, it's been like, it was hot, then cold, and then sunny, and then we had tons of rain, and then we had that really long dry spell. And it affects...
Hold on, do you think that's a reflection of our age? We're talking about the weather?
Well, maybe for you, but not for me, because I'm so much younger at heart.
Well, I agree with that.
Yeah, but no, because that affects how the leaves are going to, you know, I don't even, what do you call that?
Change?
Well, yeah, that. You know, the change, because he knows all about change, because aren't you going through that change right about now?
You mean my menopause?
Oh my God, we're not going there.
Well,
let's get back to the color
which I'm
of
not.
the leaves.
However, I wanted to address that because you're wearing a sweater and I am wearing a short sleeve shirt. So what's with that?
Because we're in the in between.
I guess so. We're between
it's cold,
seasons.
It's cool. It's warm. I don't know what to wear anymore. We could wear shorts yesterday, and then the temperature dropped to minus. No, it didn't go to minus. It went down to like 13, and it was like 20 the day before.
The good news is though, with the temperature that we have right now, we were able to harvest some flowers. And when I say
flowers?
And when I say we, it wasn't me. It was Lisa from Hilltop Farms.
Hilltop. Oh,
yes,
wonderful.
Yeah, so
wonderful little farmland.
A couple concessions over.
Yes.
Yeah, and so I stopped by today and said, Lisa, do you have any flowers? And she went back and we picked them. When I say we again, she was the one who picked them.
Right.
And so do you know what they are?
No. And what's incredible is, like we talked about, it's cooled right down, and there's still these beautiful flowers in full bloom.
Yeah.
No, I don't know what
They're really
are.
nice.
They're flowers.
So that's
there's white one,
dahlia,
yellow one, and
the white one's a dahlia. It's beautiful. It's really nice. And then the this one is a zinnia.
Zinnia.
Yeah. And then this one is an amaranth. These purple ones are beautiful. They look like purple gumdrops.
They do. They look
Really
like
nice.
I could eat that.
You probably could.
You probably could in a salad, I'm sure.
But you have a drink. What's in your drink?
It's my usual. It's just my usual latte with maple syrup. And
Yeah,
you'll know it's coffee in about 20 minutes.
I want to know if it's caffeinated or decaffeinated.
Well, we had an early visitor, and I had a decaffeinated coffee this morning because I don't usually do caffeine. But when I want a little pick-me-up, or when I'm doing this, then I could, you know, be a little chattier and a little more upbeat than I normally am. I have coffee. And sometimes, you know, it doesn't take much because I'm not a big coffee drinker. So when I get about there, like a quarter of the way, a quarter to a third of the way, you might see a change. Kind of like the change in the colors.
Okay, so you're saying then that there's caffeine in it. I just want to prepare.
This one's caffeinated.
I just want to prepare the viewers for if we're going to be on a roller coaster ride or.
He's trying to prepare himself.
Put your seatbelts on, everybody. It's caffeinated. And Christopher, what are you drinking? Well, I am drinking a protein shake because. But I disguised it in here. And the reason I'm drinking it is because I reacquainted myself with the gym.
Who's Jim? I can't believe you're two-timing.
I'm two-timing with Jim. Yes, and I've been seeing Jim pretty much every day. And I will continue seeing Jim. So I've been working out and because
Ooh la la.
COVID-19 has not been great to me, so I put on like COVID-25, I think. So COVID-20.
Whatever. I don't like using that word.
So
I would have been eating my donuts and cake regardless of of what's happening around the world.
But I will tell you though, the reason I'm bringing it up is because I was communicating with a friend of mine this morning, and not Jim, actually John Crane, and I was telling him about the endorphins that I miss, like that have come back. So I am just wired every time I get out of the gym in the morning, and I feel fantastic. I feel so good.
And when you worked out regularly, you were such a nicer person. I mean, I could see the difference trapped in this cabin with you over the last several months. It's like, no, that's absolutely not true. I've been the bitchy one. I've had my moments of like, the cabin's closing in on me.
I don't remember those moments.
Yeah, I've had them at times.
Have you?
For the most part, that was an hour ago.
Okay, let's get to some mail. Close your eyes.
Okay, what do we got?
When you were away,
Uh-huh.
we received some mail, and oh my gosh, are your eyes even closed?
I opened them.
I know.
I see it right now. But you tell me what it is.
Okay, it is a magazine.
Okay.
It's called QBiz, and it is a business magazine for the LGBTQ plus community and their allies.
Yes.
And it focuses on LGBTQ businesses in Canada. It is the first in Canada and one of the first in North America. And so the reason I'm talking about it is because on page 14, there's an article about, it's called A Pattern for Success.
Oh.
Do you recognize those characters?
I recognize the other guy. Is it all about me?
It's all about you. It's all about Jamie.
goodness.
So it's a really nice article. Completely flattered that we were included in this magazine, and it's the first magazine out.
Yeah, issue, like the first
issue. Yes,
issue
yes.
number 1.
Yeah. So it was really touched by that. It was nice.
It's wonderful that they approached you to be in the magazine and
They approached
be part
us.
Yes. Well, I always say you because originally, I mean, you're
Us.
Well, yeah, but you
Because it talks about both of
you're
us in
Cabin
here.
Boy Knits, but now
We are
the
Cabin
entity
Boy Knits.
is Cabin Boy Knits.
Sure. It talks about the history, how we got into it, how we managed through COVID-19, and our marketing strategy and all that stuff. And so it was very nice. The guy who wrote it did a great job as well.
And what I find incredible is that I learned so much about Cabin Boy Knits. It's like, he doesn't always tell me everything. And so there's moments like,
I have to keep the mystery.
Fascinating. It's just
I can't reveal everything. So that means you read the article, or at least most of it, or some of it.
I know there weren't as many pretty pictures as I expected, so I made it through the,
So that's the magazine. I'll put a link to it because you can link actually to the articles in the magazine. It's a great magazine, and I just want to thank QBiz for putting this in the magazine. It was really nice of them.
I like just having a nice hard copy, like the old-fashioned way, is special.
Yes, yeah.
As well.
And
now
we
what?
got some more mail, and you already know about
did.
this one, and you're going to talk about it.
I am, because this package came in the mail. Ooh la la. So, I need my glasses, it's dark.
And while he's getting his glasses, I will say that when I was reading this letter in here, because I did read it too, before you got home, I just got goosebumps. I was just so touched and moved by this.
And I like that it's not to Cabin Boy Knits, it's to Christopher and Jamie. And I love it. So, as Christopher mentioned, this letter, and a letter? I mean,
I know. Can you remember the
love
last
it.
time we received a letter?
I can't. I used to
Yeah.
write to my friend regularly, one of my bestest friends who lives in Vancouver. And we
Bestest.
That's better than best.
It's the bestest.
Yes, and we would write regularly, and we don't anymore. And we do cards. We send
Sure.
cards on
Yeah.
birthdays, but it's not the same as getting a letter. So,
But before, are you going to say where it's from? Okay, I'll let you. This is your moment to
always
shine.
tries to impede
I will zip it up.
I never get to talk very much on this show.
That's okay.
Yes,
I will. be quiet.
I am going to tell everyone. You already know. You read the letter. I don't think they know the story, but
I know, but I'm just so excited about it.
I know it's very exciting. And
Just
I have to
spit it
say,
out.
so this is from our friend Annette. She is a new friend, Annette, and she is from. Now I'm not sure how to say this because with an English accent, but I'm just going to go as how it's spelled. So it's Tollington, Stamford, Lincolnshire, England.
And I think that's near Leicester, where I have family.
Oh, you mentioned that.
Yeah, I have family in Leicester. Had family in Leicester, and they've moved all over the UK. But
Descendants from your
yes, my grandmother.
Your grandmother.
She had a sibling who lived in Leicester and brought up a family in Leicester.
And they stayed there, and she came to Canada.
Yeah, she came
And
to
so
Canada
we
when she was
still have
13.
roots there.
Yes.
And we keep talking about making it there one day. We almost did a couple of years
Oh, we're
ago,
definitely
and
going.
we're going to go.
Yeah.
We're going to go.
We have a lot of people to visit in the UK.
Yes. So I want to read from the letter because it's so touching and personal that somebody would take the time to, and here she mentions that she's even used her old typewriter, which is,
Yes.
I've never seen a typewriter that, I don't know how to say this in English. It's funny because words that I don't use that I seldom
The
use
font,
in
you
English.
mean, or cursive?
Yeah, the font.
or-
Well, it's in.
Oh, it's written. It looks like it's written.
Yeah, but it's a type. I didn't know type. I've never seen a typewriter that types in. What do you call that?
Cursive.
No. What do you call it?
Right, well,
That
you
kind
have
of
my glasses
writing.
on.
You know, this like.
Yeah.
There's
I'll
print,
put a picture up.
There's print and there's. This isn't print. This is.
It's written.
Oh my goodness. He doesn't know either. In French, it's like longhand and shorthand, or like print where they're not connected. There's a word for that.
And it's not cursive.
I don't know. Is it cursive?
Well,
I've
I've
never heard
said
that
it
word
10
before.
times.
I don't know what cursive means. Is that what it means?
You
Like
kept
this?
saying no.
Is that what it means? Like this?
Yes.
I don't know that word. That's what I said. In French, you learn how to. Anyway, okay. So her typewriter is like fancy, and it's old-fashioned. Oh my gosh.
Okay, we're gonna get to the letter.
Okay. So Annette, this is a very personal letter, and I'm going to keep the personal, but what's very important here is that Annette and her friend Sarah, one of her very good friends, were looking for a way to raise funds. Her friend Sarah works for one of these historical homes that they try to maintain this estate, and like a heritage estate, and they were looking for ways to maybe raise some funds, and she thought about doing some dyeing some yarn.
Yes.
And so she had dabbled in it some years ago, and she wanted to get back into doing this, so she started reading up on it, and she bought some books, and then she went online, and she was looking for videos, YouTube videos to follow, and then she discovered that's where I found you. And so then she says that she binge watched all of your dye videos, and she was hooked, and she learned a great deal, and she said she had very successful results with dyeing her
Fantastic.
own clothes
That's great.
with her friend Sarah. So she is sending this, and as a personal thank you, which is, it means a lot when you could say that, she's watched you, she's learned a lot, and she's so appreciative that she wanted to send along something as a thank you.
Yeah.
Now, she and her friend Sarah are both sewers and knitters from way back, but Annette has a very special craft that she's been doing since she learned from her grandmother at 6 years old.
Wow.
And it's her favorite hobby, and it's button making. And button making has a very long history. So she sent along a few selections of her traditional Dorset buttons along to us.
Yeah.
And should we talk a little bit about the history, or should we show the buttons?
I think to give context, the wow factor is going to be bigger if you talk about the history first.
Okay. So they're called the Dorset Buttons because, and I'm going to read from her history because this is her story. And so in her words,
It's history.
in her words, she mentioned how, of course, the Dorset Buttons, so they originated in that area and also in an area of Shaftesbury, Dorset. And these buttons, some of the buttons making goes back to the 1600s, and they continued well into the early 1800s.
Wow.
And so the first buttons made were called high tops, and they were made using the Dorset sheep, and they would cut the horn, and they would slice the horn, and you'd have these rings of Dorset horn sheep rings. Now you would take the ring and you would cover it in material, and then you would do some needle work on it, and you'd create these buttons.
That is so cool.
And they were all handmade and very intricate details, and they were mostly used, they were used most often on ladies' dresses. And as time passed, once they developed them using wire and twisted spindles of wire, and some of them were soldered together, and it became such an industry that a lot of children, boys and girls, worked in that industry. And some of them were winders, or they were dippers, and others were the ones who actually threaded the rings, and they were called stringers. So sometimes whole families were employed in the button trade in East Dorset, and at the time nearly 1,000 people in the area were employed in the industry. Which you can imagine, it's a whole economy happening here. So she mentions Abraham Case, who was one of the first people to open these depots to receive buttons, and this is around by the 1720s. This business expanded, and there were depots in Bear Regis, Milbourne, St Andrews, Sherburne, Poole, Langton, and Tarrant Kingston. And this continued until well into 1803. Peter Case Jr. set up a part of the industry, and it was like a fairground. Everybody came on Fridays to trade their buttons and bring in their buttons for sale, that sort of thing. And there was a huge exporting business as well, and the industry was called BUTTONY, and this continued. Abraham's grandson then opened an export side and in the Liverpool area, and he was the founder of Case Street and Clayton, and all of these towns were built on BUTTONY. He also invented an alloy that wouldn't rust, that were used for buttons then. And in its heyday, it brought in some £12,000 a year.
Jeez.
Now, another interesting thing is the best buttons were always the ones sent for export, because they probably, they were world renowned. They were even, and some of them were even sent to the New World, which would have been North America. Yeah. But it was the finest buttons that were in most demand, and they were the ones that were mostly made for export. And these buttons for sale were mounted on pink paper. And then the secondary buttons.
Oh, that's really interesting.
It is. Oh, I know what you're going to say, because I just realized the same thing, I think.
You did. Yeah, the buttons that we received were in pink paper.
You're right.
Yes.
They're absolutely all wrapped individually in pink paper. And
they came to the New World?
They came to the New World.
Yes.
Okay, well I'm even more excited now.
Oh my gosh, I've got goosebumps.
Exactly. Because I just put that together now as saying this, because then the secondary buttons were on navy blue paper and third class buttons on yellow paper. So the last two categories, they were mostly sold within England. And so, let's see here. And then by the 1850s, or in 1850, the Great Exhibition in London, they had developed a button making machine.
Oh, wow.
And it made its debut, and it was a big hit because you could pop out, machinery.
Crank them out.
Crank out those buttons. What do you think that made to the industry?
Killed it.
Absolutely. And here she says, in her words, it brought a tragic end to the industry almost overnight. The industry was in ruin. And handmade buttons were just no longer a thing that would be worth anybody's time of day. And it also caused a lot of hardship, and even beyond hardship, it caused a lot of distress and even starvation for some families and some button makers.
Jeez.
Because they were destitute.
Yeah, because their livelihood was on it. Yep.
So during that period, some 350 families alone from the Shaftesbury area were shipped off to other colonies to find work, or for those reasons were shipped off. and places like Australia and those sort of places. So the last of the Case family, all of these depots lasted for well over 100 years. And then the last descendant of the Abraham family, of Abraham, died in 1908. And at one period of time, there was a woman who, it says, I don't know how to say this word, dowager lady, Lady Lease, bought the last of the old stock in the industry, and she tried to revive the industry, and that was not successful, or was okay for a little while, some success, but then the first Great War happened, and that was the end of that story and success.
Sure.
And in 2017, what I learned is that in 2017, button making was listed on the Heritage Craft Association's endangered crafts, because
Oh, wow.
like all old-fashioned crafts, I mean, knitting goes way back, could have been a lost craft. There is a revival, everything, so it is become a lost craft.
Well,
So
I will tell you that just looking at these buttons, which we haven't looked at yet, with the viewers, I was inspired. I was really inspired to make a button, and I hope that the viewers are as well when they see these.
well, it's people like Annette, who's been doing it for a very long time, and when we first opened up this package and pulled out some of these buttons, I have to say I was
Blown away.
stunned.
Yeah.
I could not believe the detail and I can't believe so many. And she said this was just a sampling of buttons. And they were absolutely, every single one of them, I truly believe should be in a museum. And maybe one day they will go there, because
Yeah, you're
they
working on that
are
already.
individual works of art. It's a lost art form. It's a lost trade. And people like Annette, who's keeping the trade alive, who is doing these buttons by hand. I would like, what would be amazing would be if Annette was sitting here, right here with us, and explaining how she made every one of these buttons. Now we'll take a photo. We'll put a photo of these
Yeah.
up, because it's hard to show from here. But we'll pick and choose a few to show you, because every one of them is a stunning work of art.
Well, when we go to the UK, we'll have to visit her, and we can have that. Maybe she'll talk to us about the buttons as well.
That's a great idea. And if this is just a sampling, I cannot imagine. I mean, I don't even know how many we have here.
Is there a button museum?
I don't, there must be, but we have a good dozen of them here, and they're all, each and every one.
What I'd love to do with them is frame them. I mentioned that to you before. Just put and mount them, because they're so beautiful. I want to look at them.
Oh,
They're
absolutely. And
they're
she
just so
has,
gorgeous.
she has some of them have they're a specific name, type of button, and what the materials use. So why don't we talk about, you pick
So
and
talk
choose.
about a couple of them.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Well, I'm going to pick 3 because
Okay. I was going to go one at a time, but you just take.
no, because there's a lot of similarities between. Okay, I'll pick 2 because they're very similar and they remind me of somebody, and the somebody is
Okay.
Yasmin, who crochets earrings.
Oh.
And so when I
Okay.
saw these, I immediately thought of Yasmin, the Dorset Button Nautical, and the Old Dorset.
Okay. And yeah, they're absolutely stunning. And so, does it say at the back? So this one's cotton thread on a brass ring.
Same with this one.
Okay, so they're
Yeah.
both on a brass ring. But you're right. And you know what's great is people like Jasmine, has a different art form, but very similar. Like some of these look like you could even have it on. You could have it on a chain, or it
Yeah.
looks so much like a jewel.
Well, like this one. What was that one called?
Daisy chain button.
The daisy chain
The
button.
daisy chain.
Yeah, that's what this one is also. They all look like that. Like they look similar. To,
Yeah, they're all very similar to.
Yeah.
I think that between the two of them, Yasmin could probably learn some of the detailing of these and incorporate them in her art form, which are our jewels.
Yeah.
Because it's very similar. And she could learn how to do some of these other sort of patterns or designs, which are very similar, and you could use them as a jewel as well.
And the opposite. You can. I'm sure based on the way she makes her earrings, she can make buttons.
Absolutely. She could learn the craft. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And carry it on.
So what are you going to pick?
Well, I have about 8 favorites, but I love...
I have 12 favorites.
Well, I'm going to go with this one because I think this is one of the older ones because it's, as she mentioned, the first ones were like a cloth covered.
That's
and
very
this
unique.
is a cloth covered singleton. So it's cotton cloth on a brass ring. So this tells me that this one would have been made similar to the very early ones on the sheephorn ring because you covered it with material and then you could see the stitch work on top of the button. So that one is very special. They're all very special.
Yeah.
And I love this. Now there are 2 of them with the same name.
I thought it was my turn.
You're supposed to pick 2, but I went ahead and I just carried on like I do. I just carried on like I do. You pick a button.
I'm going to pass by.
You pick a button.
Don't pick over
mine.
to you. So.
Don't pick my buttons.
No, go ahead.
Do not pick my buttons. Go ahead.
No, you pick. No, you have to start with these 2 because you already started talking about it and you've shown it already.
No, I didn't quite see it. I didn't bring
Yes, you
them
did.
up.
Yes, you did.
Oh my gosh. These, it says, I think she mentions that she's not sure where the heritage of the names comes, but they're death heads buttons. And she mentions here that they are on a wood form, cotton and silk, cotton on a wood form. And they're absolutely stunning. You have a Union Jack and you have this one with some pink and a cross over the, but they're made in the same style.
Yeah,
they're
gorgeous.
absolutely stunning.
Okay.
Oh, and then I want to tell you about. Do you get a turn? Oh,
well, you're sitting behind the button,
ahead.
so.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Okay. there's another death one there, a death head one.
Oh my goodness.
That was
That's where I got it because it says meaning unknown.
What does it
Is
say?
it anything same?
Wooden. Yeah. Silk thread on wooden form.
Yes.
Okay. I really like these. I'm going to pick 2 again. The cartwheel. Oh, they're both cartwheel. That's why.
That's why.
The Blandford cartwheel. And this is cotton thread on plastic ring.
And they look like daisies.
They
look
do.
like flowers.
Yeah. Can't you see these on a sweater or kid sweater, or especially these are a girl's sweater, or I guess it doesn't have to be girls, it could be anybody's sweater.
Well, what Annette mentioned at the very end of her letter, she said, you can imagine the time it takes. Any art, anybody out there who, we all do, knitters and artists alike, very time consuming. A lot of detail, a lot of creativity, and as Annette mentioned, a lot of your blood, sweat, and tears actually go into some of this work.
Yep.
I mean, you can imagine your fingers working these intricate little tiny details. So she mentions as, if you're going to do a project that you've put so much of your time into, and let's say like knitters, a lot of them there are buttons for sale for knitters. Why would you not have finish it off with a beautiful button, whether it be on a hat, on a sweater,
Sure.
Sweaters that sometimes have buttons, and some of these buttons were used for, some of them for all different clothing, but artistically speaking, you could use it as an accessory to any garment. Why go buy some, plastic button somewhere when you could have a beautiful work of art to just do that finishing touch on a project?
And are you going to pick another button now?
Is it my turn already? Oh. Okay, I'm going to go with, hey, there's one missing. You're saving it. He's saving one of the best ones. Okay, you save that one. I'm going to just talk about this.
Well, you were talking so much.
I know.
I removed it
because before
right
I
from
snap-
underneath you.
Okay, I'm going to grab two that are very different. So this one is a basket weave, not a basket case.
It's on the tip of my tongue. I bit my tongue not to say
Basket weave. It's a basket weave Dorset button, and you can see how it. You know what? It's so amazing because it's wrapped around the ring, and again, it's on a brass ring and it's cotton thread. It's wrapped around the ring, but the center of it is done just like you would see maybe the bottom of a basket.
Yeah.
So that explains the basket weave.
Yep.
Now these are interesting because they're called bird's eye, and they're teensy tiny.
I like those as well.
And
Those
so
are really nice.
I don't even know how could you even maneuver a needle and thread through those little
I was
tiny
thinking
rings.
when we knit, when we have our shorter needles, I ordered a shorter pair of needles. I couldn't even use it with my hands. It was just too difficult. So
Yeah.
I can't imagine it would be
Well,
difficult to
this
do
is
that.
interesting why they're tiny, because these are called, they're made from a length of cotton, and they're made for shirts and children's clothing
Yeah,
and
that makes
underwear.
sense.
And you think of underwear in the day, these tiny buttons. I would imagine like a woman's corset or a blouse where you have 100 buttons going down the front or down the back, and you would have all of these tiny little delicate buttons.
Do you
to
have
up.
buttons on your underwear?
She's got buttons,
Do you?
buttons, buttons all down her back.
I
back,
do.
Back.
I have.
Is that
I
how
have,
the song goes?
Yeah, Miss Mary Mac Mac Mac.
And did she
Yeah.
have buttons?
Silver
down
buttons,
her-
buttons on her down her back.
And there was
back,
buttons,
back.
buttons, buttons,
Yeah.
because there were a gazillion buttons.
But that has nothing to do with your underwear. Do you have a button on your underwear?
Maybe. I'm not going to tell that I wear if the boxers or briefs. I'm not going there, thank you very much. I am quite proper in private.
Okay. Except only the times when you're not. Okay, so
He's giving away all of my secrets, or trying to.
I just thought you would. I thought you would just
Why
answer
is
that
it-
without thinking.
I'm not even going to think, because maybe, that's one thing. Okay, girls, because I don't know if they have different, I don't think boys' underwear could have a button, whereas...
Well, I have buttons.
I know we have
on
buttons
some of
on our
mine.
underwear, I wear them.
Oh, so I knew I'd get it out of them. So
Sometimes.
okay.
Okay, anyway, let's talk about more buttons. Is
Okay.
it my turn?
No, it's not your turn. It's my turn.
Oh.
This is the one that I snagged from you right
I know,
underneath
'cause
while
it's-
you were talking about
That one is,
your underwear.
if any of them you would consider a work of art, that would be
Well, I think
one of
they
them.
all are. But
Well, they all are.
this one is
Yes.
definitely unique. This is the Tree of Life, and I found it interesting that it has a kind of a what you call this
A loop?
loop.
Like loopy?
Loop. So it would look great as a necklace. You could wear it as a necklace as well.
It absolutely could. It's beautiful. Tree of life.
It's gorgeous.
And there it is, a beautiful
Yeah,
tree.
beautiful.
And like again, I mean,
Really
how
nice.
do you do all of that needlework where it forms like the foliage of the leaf and then the tree trunk and then the ring around it?
Yeah, it's beautiful. Really
All
nice.
stunning.
Well, there you have it.
Yeah, and that's the Dorset Buttons. And she also, Annette mentioned, like she does a lot of these traditional UK buttons, but she also has traditions, she makes traditional other European buttons as well. So I'm sure she must have a collection of, I don't even know. And she says, this is something she does for herself, I believe. She does not sell these. So as you mentioned, these are keepsakes because done by hand, a lost heritage art. They are beautiful, stunning works of art. We will frame these, and I think what we'll do is, when we make it out to festivals once again, and we set up a booth here and there,
Yeah,
where we may go, I think we bring these
For
along
sure.
because these are
Yeah,
showpieces,
and they'll be in the framed.
and we will
Yeah.
bring them along with us, and people could have a.
Yeah, they're
Glance.
absolutely beautiful. So, Annette, thank you so much for keeping this heritage alive of making buttons. They're absolutely beautiful.
And
And
thank
thanks
you
for
for
sharing.
I was going to say thanks for sharing.
I beat you to the punch.
No, thank you so much for this
Yeah.
beautiful gift. We will cherish it, and we appreciate it, and we're happy that we could learn something from yourself. And I learned a great deal about heritage buttons, and I love history, and you were able to learn from us, and
And we can share with all of you.
so thank you, Annette.
Okay, what's up next?
What's up? I don't know. What are we
My
going to talk about?
fob.
Your what?
Fob.
Oh, I thought you said Bob. I was going to say, okay, there was Jim, there was now there's Bob. Bob.
This is fob. Yes.
Bob.
So
I know what that means. It means a finished object.
while you
doesn't it?
were hanging out in Paris and
Oh, what did you throw together?
drinking coffee at cafes and eating pastries.
Pastries, my
and
favorite food group.
I was knitting, and so which is
Oh, what'd you make
also
now?
luxury. I finished a sweater, so I started this one a little. This didn't take very long at all because the wool that I used.
wasn't gone that long.
The wool that I used. So let's talk about it. About the wool firstly.
Okay.
Okay, so I wanted to make a sweater, and I thought I'm gonna go up into my stash and see what I have in my stash. And I have kind of like I've stashed kind of everywhere. I've stashed stuff all over the house, but I went into the big stash area, and I knew that I had some yarn from Americo, and Americo was one of my favorite yarn companies. They're Canadian, and they closed shop a couple of years ago, and I bought up some yarn, and so I decided to make a sweater out of this yarn. However, I didn't have enough to make the whole sweater one color. I had various colors, and I thought, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to make it work? So really the sweater the yarn dictated what it was going to look like.
Okay.
And so
sometimes that's how it works. When you talk to designers,
sometimes it does.
They just say they get a feel and they just start and they go with the flow, and this is what you did.
This is what I did. So I started off with the blue, and then I went with, what did you say?
Can they hear you through this way? It's just like I never have another one. I have not been about the sweater.
Okay.
It's not been on camera for.
It's been a while. It's been a while. Okay, so this is bulky weight, so that's why it whipped up. You could did it up very quickly, and I decided to do raglan sweater shoulders because I liked the fit of that, and then I just kind of went with it and ran out of blue. I knew I didn't have enough blue to do the first pattern that I drew out, and so then I put a double line here.
The stripes.
The stripes. Yep. And then I didn't have enough of the stripes, so I added some brown on the sleeves.
Okay.
And then some brown on the bottom.
That's the part, this is my favorite. I love that you added this little detail here.
Yeah.
And I love that you did the cuffs matching the bottom of there, which is great. And like you said, you just got to get creative so that, just get, and they all blend so well together.
Now it's 75% merino and 25% alpaca.
Oh.
And it weighs a ton.
That was my
heavy.
biggest surprise. This almost feels like it weighs like, what, 2 pounds, 3 pounds?
It's heavy.
I bet you, well, maybe not, I don't know, but it's very heavy.
Now
it's as heavy as a bag of potatoes.
Now this was my Rhinebeck sweater. Yes, it's as heavy as a bag.
Yeah.
This was my Rhinebeck sweater and couldn't go because the border was closed. However, where were you? You were up north this weekend. You're away again. Christy Glass asked if we were going, and we said no.
Oh, right.
And because we can't cross because of the border. And she showed me a Rhinebeck sweater the Saturday before Rhinebeck.
Okay.
So I was able to get my Rhinebeck sweater out and talk about my Rhinebeck sweater.
And you finished the second sweater while I hadn't finished my first.
I did, yes.
But
we're not showing that. Sweater. We're saving that for your big reveal party.
For a reveal party.
Which every episode we have asks Christopher, can you ask Jamie when the final knit along closing ceremonies are? I finished my sweater and we want to know a date. And so
it's beyond embarrassment because
you have finished your sweater though. You haven't blocked it, but you finished it.
No, I finished my sweater because I'm going to remind everyone that, and yourself included, that we ran out of a specific color. All I had left was this to do, but right here, as yours as well, is I didn't run out of yarn. I did run out of the blue yarn because I wanted blue stripes.
That's when you need to find a natural dyer somewhere.
And I couldn't find one for the life of me. I said, can anybody out there match this blue to this blue and this blue and this blue? And so I needed this section of blue and a couple of attempts to get it exactly. And on the third attempt, because, I'm a perfectionist, so the shade was slightly off because, the dyer I hired just couldn't,
quite couldn't deal with all the demands.
Well, it had been done 3 years ago. So to match that, but you did it. Third try, absolutely perfect match. I finished that, and then I finished the cuff with the cream. So I finished my sweater in a day.
So you're going to block it, and then it'll be ready.
Yeah, and the blocking, I see how the blocking is important. It fits. It fits to measure. Measured to fit, and it does. Now, the only thing I find here where, it's not really, is it still called a yoke when you don't have, that pattern here? Is it still called a yoke, or is a yoke when you do, patterns across like that, like an Icelandic sweater? Is that
That's still part of the, you're still going to have a yoke.
You still call this a yoke, that part? Well, I find here with that, it's the same kind of stitching there, and you have the stitching down here. I don't know anything about knitting. I was following the pattern. He was the pattern.
I will say, one criticism I have of myself during this whole process
he's not a teacher.
Well,
don't go into the teaching profession?
No, that's not it at all.
Oh, you do teach because you teach videos. But one-on-one with this one, With the other guy?
I love your glowing endorsement and confidence. No. No,
make me spit out my
felt
delicious
like
coffee.
I helped you too much. I should have.
No way.
Yes, I did.
What?
I did.
No,
I
you
helped you
did
too
not.
much because
I
you,
couldn't- I
when
couldn't
you make
understand.
mistakes, you learn by taking by those mistakes. And if you don't make those mistakes and
But I did
not
make
try to,
mistakes.
I know, but and not try to fix them yourself, like to problem solve, you learn just so much faster when you're problem solving.
Well, this is the thing.
So I'm gonna
because
stop spoon feeding.
I did learn I knew when I made a mistake, but I didn't want mistakes. And then we had to undo it, and you had to show me how to undo the mistakes. And then many times after that, in the morning when I'm up at the crack of dawn, sitting over in the corner knitting my sweater, I would get into like, oh, darn it. And then I did something wrong again.
But you're-
and I could learn to look at it. I'm like, oh, that was supposed to be a purl, not a knit, because you want that straight row of purling and knitting.
Yes.
And so I was able to undo it, take it back, flip it over, start it over, and fix my errors. And so now we're just down to the blocking, and I made one mistake, but I'm not going to talk about it. I have one mistake, and I'm never to be seen again because no one's going to ever notice it in a million years.
Only
So I had
God
one
is perfect. That's what the
mistake,
Amish
and I
say.
didn't like
Only
it
God is perfect.
because remember, I don't do things twice, and it was just a partial row this big, and I thought I'm not undoing that and then trying to slip it all off and then start that row again. So there was one little error that
Yeah, so
created
just so
a
you're
line.
you're honoring the Amish knitters.
I have to be
They
true to
leave
me.
one mistake.
I have to be true to me, and that's
You-
my
you-
first
you do
sweater
you.
was almost perfect. I do me real good. And so my sweater. Okay, enough about that sweater. I love it. I'm still saying that, wow,
Oh, we're
I
still
can't
on the
believe
sweater.
I made it. And we're going to have a day will come where I'm going to say, hey, folks, I'm sure your sweaters are now probably worn and all worn out, and you probably don't even wear them anymore. It's been so long. But we could have a show and tell and just chat, and people will join us. You don't have to be knitting, or you can knit whatever
That's
you will.
right.
And what did we say we would call it? Because it's not a knit along, because we're done knitting.
It's a
along.
fiber along. No, what do we call
What?
it? No, it's a hangout. It's
Hang
a
along.
hangout. I guess it's just hanging out, coffee and chat.
We're
tea
just
and
going to chat. We're going to chat and show off
Tea.
our sweaters and see
Yeah.
what our results are.
Yep.
And that's it. We'll let you know. And hopefully you're still out there and you're still going to be like, what? Jamie who? Knit
So-
along what?
How's your energy level right now? How are you doing?
I don't know if this is kicked in or not. I've only drank
Well,
about, yeah. I don't
drink
know.
up, buddy, because we are going to dig up some wool.
I can dig it.
Let's go.
Okay.
Oh, I hit something. Oh, here it is.
Hard over there.
Okay. So here it is. I buried this in May, and it is now October, and it's really interesting to see. This looks like exactly like what it looked like on the way in. This looks completely different, and this has definitely been biodegrading. So let's go have a closer look at it. Okay, it's time for the big reveal. Are you
What
ready?
do you think's happened? So, to recap.
To recap, I put together two swatches. I knit two swatches. One of them acrylic, the other one with wool. Then we put them in between pieces of metal and we buried them. And this was in May. It is now October. We just dug them up and we are going to see what the fiber looks like. Are we ready?
Have we guessed which one's acrylic and which one's real wool? Okay. Oh. So already,
Wow.
what do you say?
we see that the acrylic,
Well, let's pull that one up.
yeah, the acrylic has not decomposed at all. The metal has decomposed. And then when we look at the wool has definitely decomposed. And it is, and look at it, it's just...
Let's poke away at it. Let's have a look.
Well, it feels kind of cool on your... Like,
I'm not touching that.
It feels, but look at it, it's like...
It's turned to complete back
Yeah.
to the earth.
Yeah. And so...
And what about this one?
This one has not decomposed at all.
Well, how about you try and see if it's decomposed? Oh my gosh. Seriously.
We could use this as a washing... We could wash our dishes
Hey, that's
with
a
it.
perfectly good
Look, it's
piece
still...
of fiber.
It's still...
That is absolutely incredible. I hope they can pick this up close up. So this, look at this. This is, can you pick that up? This is the wool fiber just shredding to nothingness.
This looks exactly like the way it was when we put it in. Okay, so why did we
what
do
have we
this?
learned?
What have we learned?
What have we learned?
What I really wanted to show was that wool is completely biodegradable, and when you think about the cycle, the carbon cycle of wool,
Okay.
we think about the sheep eating grass, and then once they eat the grass, they grow to be big, strong sheep, and then we shear the sheep and we use the wool, and then we make garments out of the wool, and then if you put the wool, if you bury your garment in the ground, it can go back and it can feed the earth, and it is great for the earth. And then the cycle starts again. The earth becomes very enriched, and grass grows. The sheep eat the grass. The sheep are shorn.
And the cycle continues.
The cycle continues and continues and continues.
But what's incredible is you think about, we know a wool garment could last forever with care.
Yes.
It's almost like you think it's indestructible because it's one of nature's, what do they call it? It's like a nature's miracle fiber.
It is.
Because of the warmth, the fishermen who use it in the wet, cold, damp.
Yeah.
It keeps your body warm, whether it's wet or not wet. It dries. A sweater will last you 100 years.
Yeah.
But yet, this complete turned into...
And do you know why?
No, I don't. Tell me, science doctor.
No, but it's a fantastic question because you think about it, you look at this and you think, oh my gosh, like, why would you knit anything with this? Because it's just going to fall apart. Well, that's not the case, because when you knit a sweater, the fiber on it, let's pretend this is 100% wool because this is a little bit, so we'll just talk about wool. But what happens is with the wool, the wool repels water.
Yes.
So it acts like a raincoat, basically, and
Okay.
it repels it. And so there's no water that is held onto it, and so it repels it. And the fiber is dry underneath and allows it to thrive and to stay healthy. And it can stay healthy for a long period of time. If you're burying it in the ground, you have all the moisture in there. And what happens is it doesn't have an opportunity to breathe, and so it starts to decompose.
I'm really shocked at you know, it's interesting because when you pulled it out on one side, it was all fuzzy and you could see this mold growth and everything else growing on it and through it. But there are roots going through it that has also broken it down. But you initially could still see the stitches, but as soon as you touched it, it's completely falling apart.
Yeah.
But this is telling you something else because the roots are going right through this fiber, but it is completely intact.
So when you think about your what landfills, and you think about when you're getting rid of clothing, this is what's going to happen with your wool clothing, and then
Or any other natural fiber.
or the other natural fibers, and this is what happens with acrylic. It's not breaking down.
Man-made fiber in landfill.
Yeah.
Where do you think that's going? Nowhere for a gazillion years. So let's go back to before you throw something into the landfill. How about when you're thinking of purchasing something?
Yeah.
Purchasing a fine garment that you might want to make or purchase or share or give away, made out of natural fiber, as in wool.
Sure.
You have choices.
You have choices.
And that's what it's about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Choices. But I'm actually shocked. I mean, I really didn't know what to expect. I know it's man-made. I know it's acrylic. But, hey, I'm going to use this. We're going to wash this. And since it's already made...
Is it going to be a dishcloth? Or
it'll be a dishcloth, one of yours. I ain't using that thing on my face. Unless you...
So there you have it. That is our wool and acrylic experiment. And thank you, Campaign for Wool, for planting that seed and inspiring us to do that experiment.
And to prove a point that choices are choices, and there are some choices that are better than other choices, and that's a lesson to be learned, and one that we showed firsthand right before our very eyes.
Yep.
Okay, so now, what is in your dye pot when I was away?
Lots of stuff. I had, oh my gosh, I had so many dye pots going.
You did?
But I want to talk about one in particular.
Okay.
And this is, I did an Instagram post on this one, and I didn't say a lot about it, other than I had pictures of sunflowers. Okay. So this is the result of dyeing with sunflowars.
And just any old sunflower? Or
Well,
it
it was Hopi sunflowers, but I wanted to talk a little bit about that.
Because were they not
there was
special?
Yes, we'll get to that in a second. But I want to talk about the flowers and the challenge I had.
Oh, I know what you're going to say.
While you were gone, there was a full-on war going on at the cabin. Myself against the squirrels, and I'd say that the birds, I wasn't fighting against the birds, but I was competing against the birds and fighting against the squirrels and the chipmunks. The chipmunks and the squirrels would get on the heads of the sunflowers, they would chew off the neck, the head of the sunflower would fall on the ground, and then it would be devoured. And so I wanted the seeds for dyeing.
Yes.
And I didn't get, that didn't happen for a lot of it. So, but I did manage to salvage some of them.
Some of the flower heads.
Some of the flower heads. And so I did, but I didn't get a lot of the seeds. So,
okay.
So the objective was to go in, take the seeds
and the flower
from the sunflowers and dye with the seeds. The Hopi,
just the seeds.
The Hopi, yes, flower seeds.
You're hoping to dye with the Hopi seeds.
I'm hoping to dye with them, and I didn't have any left. So it was like the peaches. All our peaches were gone by the squirrels.
Oh gosh!
All of our black walnuts are gone by the squirrels.
I had forgotten about that.
So it was
Did we
just
mention that the last time?
Probably, because it's still a sore spot. Anyway, back to the yarn. So I had what I had, and I put it in a dye pot. Used the head of the sunflower. I had a few seeds, and this is the color I got, which I was really happy with. And I did put it in with iron as well, and so that's why we're seeing a green hue. However,
yes.
Are you going to ask a question?
No.
Okay.
I'm learning.
Okay. On Instagram, I took a photo of the yarn, and I had the picture had two pictures of yarn. One of them was a green color, greenish hues to it, like olive, I would say.
Yes.
And the other one had a brownish hue to it, and which
it looked purpley.
Was it purpley?
Mauve.
Well, I'd say
Mauvey,
brown
reddy,
mauve.
Brown red.
Brove. It was brovey looking.
It was very brove.
And this is the interesting part. I didn't say a lot about it on the Instagram post, but it was the same skein. And it was just under two different light sources. So
that's right.
When I took it the first time and it had the brown purplish color to it, that was under a direct light inside. And then I took it outside and and with the natural light it was a green hue.
And we've talked about this many times.
And it was fascinating.
Changes.
I thought it was fascinating. And I said, that's ridiculous. How could the light change that much? However,
yeah, you're right. It was completely two different colors.
The next morning I woke up, the yarn was sitting on this desk top, and it was purpley brown colored. And it's and
you were looking for the
I was awake too. I was looking for the green.
You were looking for your. Where did I put that skein of yarn that I dyed with the sunflowers? And it was right there, but you thought it was a different skein.
Yeah. So the moral of this story is
what?
That there's a bunch of morals on this. Get to the yarn earlier.
Check because you might be colorblind.
Check your eyes because you might be colorblind. But also the lighting has a huge impact on the color when you're natural dyeing.
And we've talked about that many times.
Yes.
But
I wanted to bring out a real life example.
No, it's good to bring it up again because that was really showing like from one like complete opposite colors, completely different colors. Usually it's a different shade or hue. But we've talked about color before, and you get this is why I always use an example because I have sisters who are hairstylists and a few friends. And hey, I get my hair cut.
A few friends as hairstylists, or just a few friends in general?
Well, the hairstylists aren't necessarily my friends, but if they're doing my hair, I got to be friendly because I need a good haircut. Just saying.
You usually get a good haircut.
That's because I got to be
and your
friendly.
friends and your no, but I think your friends do cut your hair.
Oh, yes, I know. So, a hair salon, you try to mimic natural lighting as much as possible because they're doing hair coloring. And so, same thing, same technique, because hair is a fiber, isn't it? It's a natural fiber.
Yeah.
And so you need that natural lighting because if you want to be a redhead, you better not have a golden light or a green light because your hair is going to look a different color than what it's going to turn
That's
out
so
to in the
interesting.
end.
Yes,
and so,
makes sense.
And so your natural lighting is more of a white light, and then you have, most lights are, like, especially the old-fashioned, how do you call those bulbs? The old-fashioned
Light bulbs.
Why can't you help me with my words? Incandescent, is that what they're called? The old light bulbs are yellow, and you get a yellow hue to everything. So if you have yellow, just think of your color wheel. And then fluorescent lighting usually oftentimes have a green hue to a fluorescent light. Sometimes
Yes.
blue, but most often green.
Yeah.
So it's just like color matching. You know what happens when you mix the colors and it'll show as a different color.
Right. Excellent.
And there you have the color.
There you have it.
The color and lighting. And that's why when we're on camera, who wants to look green?
Not me.
Not me.
Okay, so I want to talk about something else.
What are we going to talk about now? I think the coffee kicked in.
I think the coffee kicked in as well. Okay, so this is closing words. I want to talk about the Great Ontario Fibre Fair.
And I don't know about it because it's something you found out about probably while I was away somewhere.
It was, yeah, you were out gallivanting somewhere.
Out and about.
You're in Northern Ontario or somewhere else. I don't know. However, this is really exciting. The Great Ontario Fibre Fair, which is going to take place on November 19th, and it is virtual. And here's the deal. Here's the tea on this.
Okay. I'm excited.
It's amazing. So this is what you do. Anyone can enter. And however, there's a catch. You have to use wool from Ontario. And when I talk about Ontario, I'm talking about Ontario, Canada. Not Ontario, California. So Ontario, Canada.
Okay.
Let me step back to the objective first. The objective is to promote farms, sheep farmers, alpaca farmers, fiber farmers in Ontario, and the mills in Ontario, and the dyers in Ontario. So you have to use fiber.
What about the spinners and the knitters?
And the spinners and the knitters, thank you. Yes, thank you for
It's
and crocheters as well.
And crocheters. What
Yes,
else do we
and
forget?
weavers.
And weavers.
Yes,
And believers.
and believers. Yes. So that's what. So basically, that's what it's to promote all that. And so you have to use fiber that's sourced in Ontario. I think you're allowed to get it sourced outside of Ontario because
Or do you mean milled outside?
milled outside because we have. What did I say?
Well,
Yeah, milled.
sourced.
So
but you're saying
no,
it should be
sourced in Ontario.
Fiber.
It has to be sourced in Ontario.
So fiber from Ontario.
Yeah, then you take that fiber and you have it milled somewhere. The mills in Ontario are very limited and they're
Very few
backed
far
up.
between.
So I think you're allowed to
Years.
go to the U.S. to get it milled because a lot of people do that. You have to check the fine print on that one, but I do think that you're allowed
like
to do
the
that.
details. The details will be all on.
Yeah. So then the skein comes back and then it has to be dyed in Ontario by someone.
Does it have to be dyed in Lake Ontario? Or with
Not on
Ontario,
Lake Ontario.
Lake Ontario water?
No. Nope.
Okay,
just
just check.
Just Ontario,
'Cause it
because
has Ontario
there's
in
numerous
that, in a
lakes.
word.
There's numerous lakes in Ontario,
Okay.
and so then you create your garment, and then you submit it. Oh, you have to take photos of it as well.
Oh.
I'm going to put a link
And
to
then
this.
what's the reason for submitting this photo?
to
what
win?
do you mean?
So well, you
Because I
win.
don't think you finished the objective.
The objective is to promote the farms and the knitters and the crocheters and dyers and.
But why are you
spinners.
sending in photos of your projects and your
Yeah, so there's a competition. So
So
there's a competition, and so once you do that, you submit it to the Fibre Fair, and it will be judged. And I
Okay.
heard the judges are pretty phenomenal this year.
well, is there anyone we know?
There's somebody that you know very well.
Who?
Me.
You didn't tell me that.
Now I'm one of the
No, are
judges.
you really? You
Yes,
just
I'm one of the
thinking that
judges. I'm one of the judges.
And what was the criteria in choosing judges? Somebody brawny and handsome and
They
bearded.
couldn't find anyone, so they were knocking on my door. No, that's not it at all. There are some. I will tell you that I am with a very esteemed group. So I'm lucky. I'm pulling the average down. They're very talented.
I'll be
These
the judge of that. Let me know who else.
And so, well, it's a secret. So.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, it'll be disclosed on the website.
But you just told him you're a judge.
Well, that part's not a secret.
Your part's not a judge, but the other judges
because they haven't disclosed everybody yet. They haven't disclosed.
Oh, so they just said, okay, well, let's just do it as a teaser. Okay, so there's cowboy Nats, but then the real judges we're going to disclose them in a surprise.
Yes. So, and a couple of the things a couple of categories. So sweater.
Okay. And now these are the categories like. So it's like a when you have your fall fair and then they judge like biggest pumpkin, the nicest flower, the best cow.
The penny just dropped. Yes, that's what it's like. It's like
some people don't know because when we're going to fairs, we're just going to fiber festival fairs and we're just
it's like a county fair. Yes, it's just like that.
Like an old-fashioned fair where
just
it's
like that.
Judge and there's going to be the best of this, that, and the other, and these are the categories.
Yep, and the categories are sweater, other top, socks, shawl, neckwear, cowl, scarf.
Neckwear. Oh.
Yes. Hat.
Okay.
And then a felted needle, felted wet, woven article.
What?
And non-clothing.
Non-clothing, so that means you actually don't have anything to show. Well.
It's a very fine lace. It's nude. It's non-clothing. Mixed medium, hand spun. There's all kinds of things.
How does you go back to that wet one? Is that part of the category? The wet something?
Felted needle and felted wet. That's.
Okay, what is wet?
Yeah. So after you finish mastering knitting and spinning, and you move on to felting, you'll find out what needle felting and wet felting is.
Wet felting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's it. So I will put all of the details on. This is going to be really exciting.
Well, you put the link and they can.
Are you going to enter?
Oh my gosh. Hey, I did make a perfect sweater. Who's to say I can't knit something else for the first time and go, wow, it's my first one, but they'll never know because I'll just let them be the judge of it.
However, you can't, so I shouldn't have even asked you because that's a conflict of interest.
I don't know
because you know the judge.
I don't even know you. Don't make it look like I'm,
well, based on the
sleeping with the enemy.
Based on the magazine, and that you learn some things about me, you don't really know me that well.
We just work together. Just because he's the judge. That's not fair. Yes, it is fair. Okay.
Yeah. So you'll have to find.
I'm going to submit it by.
You'll have to find
maybe it's
country fair.
I'm going to put it. I'm going to slip it in there like a secret, like like you have like your secret. What do you call it? Like your secret
admirers.
Yeah, like a secret Valentine or a secret admirer or a secret something. I'm going to slip it in there and just get a judge just so someone goes, oh, look at Crepe Suzette made this wonderful sweater. And they'll be go, wow, how do we get a hold of Crepe Suzette? It's the most beautiful article of clothing. Look at the perfection.
You can just put on one of your disguises.
And I could be anonymous and it'll be like,
yeah,
I won't, don't want anything from it. I just want it to be judged so that these other very important judges will say, wow, that was a really good article of clothing.
These other very important judges.
The other ones.
the important ones.
They're the ones who matter to me. This one's going to pick and nitpick at it. I basically knitted that sweater for you, practically. The only thing I wasn't doing was this. Like, okay, here, let me help you knit. I'll just help you knit along. That's actually how my sweater got done. He just did, that thing where you put your arms behind and then you go like this?
Oh my gosh.
And he actually knitted
the
my
coffee
sweater.
has definitely kicked in. Okay, next week, what's on deck for next week?
I have no idea. I just got back from places.
We are going to Paris.
What?
We're going to Paris.
What are you talking about? We're not going to Paris.
Paris, Ontario. For
the other Paris.
Yes, for Woolfest.
Yes. Yep. That's exciting.
Yeah.
Paris, Ontario. It's over there.
Yeah. So I can't wait.
We won't see the Eiffel Tower. But
we'll see lots of familiar faces, and I'm really looking forward to it. This is our first outing to a festival in 2 years or year and a half, or it's a long time. So
almost 2 years.
We're really excited about that.
We haven't seen anybody in 2 years.
The squirrels and the chipmunks and the porcupines
and the coyotes,
so we get to see real
and
people,
the woodpeckers and the foxes and everything else out there. But we're going to see people probably like a proper festival, like a proper
festival. Yes.
So vendors.
However, we'll have our masks on.
Vendors, and we always run into other people that we know. We don't know who we might run into. Whoever's going to be.
You never know.
But vendors will know people. Yep. That's exciting.
Very exciting.
I'm very excited.
And the week after that, we are going over to Amherst Island
We
to
are.
do an interview.
With
Topsy Farms. Jake.
Topsy
Jake.
Farms. He's my friend. Although
He's one of Jamie's favorites.
we haven't seen each other in many months.
Oh, it's been a long time.
You were there just not long ago.
I was there not too long ago. So we're going over there, and
You haven't
Jake's
had
going to
your
show us
coffee.
around. Jake is going to show us around, and Geneva is coming with us. My daughter.
Oh,
So that'll be fun.
okay.
So that'll be great.
Well,
I'm looking forward to that outing.
seeing, because we've talked about Topsy many times, and they are wonderful people with a wonderful story and a beautiful setting, and they're just beautiful people. And I'm excited to go there because it's been, I don't think I've been there in 3 years.
It is such a fascinating place. I cannot wait for it.
There's so much that happens there, and the community feel of it all.
Yeah.
Well, you're going to find out, because we're going to have a chat with them all,
Yeah,
aren't we?
we are. Yes.
It's going to be. I'm looking forward to that.
So we just want to thank everyone again for watching, and thank you for your comments. We love answering them. We love talking about them, and really, thank you so much.
We
again
always get a good giggle out of it. It's very heartfelt, and it's nice to, and like I mentioned, most often we always read them in the morning when we have our morning tea. I don't have coffee in the morning tea, and
Thank goodness.
we
Oh, did you hear that?
we chat and we read the comments, and it's a great way to start our day.
Yes.
So yes, thank you all very much, and stay tuned, and we look forward to seeing some of you
Absolutely.
real soon. Maybe we'll see you in Paris.
Take care, everyone.
À la prochaine, mes amis.
Au revoir.
So we are here at the site of Onaping Falls, Ontario. You could probably hear the falls from here because they're outrageously loud. This doesn't do it justice. But what I want to point out is A.Y. Jackson, one of the founding members of the Group of Seven, and the Group of Seven Canadian artists, they're world-renowned. Arthur Lismer, Carmichael, Varley, A.J. Casson, Emily Carr was part of it as well. Tom Thompson, you know the story. A.Y. Jackson painted Onaping Falls Spring on the Onaping River some years ago, and in 1974 it was purchased by a bunch of students at Sudbury Secondary School and hung on the wall at the school for years. In 1974, upon A.Y. Jackson's death, the artwork went missing, was stolen, and has been never been discovered since. So we are here at Onaping Falls, and I'm going to get a closer look at the falls as I want to show you the gorgeous surroundings, and if we can, we'll see some of the beautiful, beautiful fall colors.
It looks like crazy. It looks like a fake factory.
Come here, baby dog. You want to take a picture with him in the middle?
Yeah.
Come here, baby dog. Oh, there he is.
Look up, look up, look up, look up here, look up here. Look up.
And the moral of the story is? Ew. That stinks.